Hello guys, so today's topic is aggregate exception. So if you want to learn more about what is exception, how to handle the exception and what keywords are used to handle the exception in C Sharp, you can go through my previous video and I will provide the video link in the video in this video description. Yeah. So aggregate exceptions represent one or more errors that occur during the application execution. So the base class for the aggregate exception is the exception. So in which scenario we need to handle aggregate exception. Yeah. So I will give you example like if you are working with the task or async programming where you are running multiple tasks, so you are not sure about which task will give you the exception or which task will execute successfully. So in that scenario we need to handle the exception as aggregate exception, and we will identify which task is executed successfully and which task is having the issue. So I will give you one example using the code. So let's create a one console application and I will show you. Yeah, so to demonstrate this aggregate exception, I will create one console application. Yes, exception. I will give the project name as exception aggregate and click on the next create. So it will create the project. Yeah. So to execute the task, I will create two methods, one for executing the task and one for creating the task and one for handling the exception. Yeah. So first I will create one method to create the task. Private static void create task. I will create one variable number of task equals to 10. I will create one array of tasks equals to new task number of task. Yeah, so let me import the namespace system dot threading dot task. Yeah, so I will create 10 tasks. Yeah, so I will hold all the tasks dot I equals to task dot start new task. So here I need to provide one method that will execute the task perform task. Yeah, so this method create task will create 10 tasks, and what we are doing in the task I will define in this method perform task. Yeah, so I will find out the current ID of the task, then I will divide the ID current ID of the task with the 2, and if we see if it is a odd number or even number. If it is a odd number then we will throw odd number exception, and if it is a even number then we will throw even number exception. Yeah. Yeah, so I have written the code for this perform task. So I am getting the ID of the current task and checking if it is divisible by 2 or not. If it is divisible by 2 completely, then I will throw exception even number exception, and if it is not divisible by 2 completely, then I will throw odd number exception. Yeah. So these exceptions are not inbuilt, so we need to create some custom class to throw these exceptions. So I will create the exception classes for even number exception and odd number exception. Yeah, so it will create one class even number exception and the base class is exception, and these are the methods, and similarly it is for the odd number exception. So now we have created 10 tasks here. So I will wait for all the tasks, and this catch block tasks dot wait all, and then I will put catch block here. Yeah, then I will, instead of catching exception, I will update the code here to get the aggregate exception. Yeah, so we are throwing exception for all numbers, either it is even or it is odd. For even number we are throwing even number exception, and for the odd number we are throwing odd number exception. So all the exception we are catching in this aggregate exception block. So this line will print 10 exceptions since we have created the 10 task and we are throwing exception for all the tasks. So let's run this application and see what is the output. Yeah, so it is id is 6 and divisible by 0 completely, so it is even number, so it is throwing exception. uh, yeah, so you can see that we have odd number exception, even number exception, odd number, even number, odd number, even number, odd number, even number, odd number, even number. So what we are doing here, so for all the tasks we are collecting the exception and handling and catching all the exception in this catch block using the aggregate exception. So yeah, so this aggregate exception ex also contains one method ex dot handle. So we can pass this exception to one method which can handle the exception accordingly. So ex dot handle ex says that we have method handle ex. So instead of writing all the exception here, so we will handle using the custom handler method. So in this custom handler I am passing all the exception and validating. If it is odd exception, then we are writing to the console odd number exception handle and sending return true and otherwise false. So this method accept bool if it is this exception is handled or not. If it is not handled, then we will send false, otherwise we will send true. So we have handled all the odd number exception, but to catch all the even number exception we need to write one try and catch block here, and we will catch the aggregate exception. Those exception can be handled here. uh, Even number exception can be handled here. Yeah, so here we are handling even number exception, and I have created the same method for the odd number and even number. So even number exception are handled here. So since it gets parameter as a true or false, so even number exception will be handled in this main method. So let's run this application once. Yeah, so we can see the output. So odd number exception handle, and we are handling even number exception in the main method. So this is how we can handle aggregate exception in the task or when we are working with the threading. Yeah, thanks for watching this video.